Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome freaking back. I'm literally ecstatic. I'm so excited. Do you want to know why? Because it's the freaking best week of May. It's literally going to be the best week of May because Remarkably Bright Creatures comes out on Netflix this week. I'm so excited. So I felt like this was the perfect time to do a spoiler. Are you hearing me very loud and clear? This is going to be a spoiler vlog full of spoilers from Remarkably Bright Creatures. Spoilers. You hearing me? Okay, so I have talked about this book a few times on my channel. I love this book so much. It's one that has stuck with me for years. I read this the first time in, 2023. Regardless, I read it quite a long time ago for the first time ever. I read it again last summer for the second time. I read it with my sister-in-laws, Alyssa and Emily. They both adored this book just as much as I did, which made me so happy because I truly do love this book, and to share something that you love with the people that you love just makes it even better. So I'm going to be reading this. I'm so excited to reread, but I'm going to be reading this again just to prepare myself for the movie that comes out. I don't want to go into the movie having forgotten how beautiful the writing of this book was, so I feel like right now is the perfect time to do so. So if you are not afraid of spoilers, if you want to be here, stay. If you have not read this book and don't want spoilers, please head over to the book that, let's try that again. Please head over to the video where I read this book during the summer, because there were no spoilers in that, but it was still just a fun video. I will tag it somewhere if I remember. Right off the bat, I feel like Marcellus makes such an impact because of how this book starts out. And what I mean by that is literally the first thing on the first page, day 1299 of my captivity. Like, already there, it gives an entirely different viewpoint of what aquariums are like and a viewpoint of what zoos are like and things of the sort, because we may go there and look at animals that we may not get to see ever just out in the open, but the animals could be sitting in this cell, for lack of better terms, just waiting for their captivity to be over. Like, I don't know, it's just such a crazy thought to think that animals are really just sitting there wishing that it was done. They want it to be over. So I already think that right off the bat, Marcellus gives such a beautiful take on humanity and just being an animal as well. I don't know. I just love Marcellus so much. to talk quick because my battery is dying, but I haven't really chatted with you guys in a bit, and I really just want to come and talk about a few things. So it was on page 66. I really find Marcellus to be such a funny comedic character, not only just because of his takes on human life, but also just like him being this sassy little octopus. Little is a crazy thing to say. He's a giant Pacific octopus, but he's just this sassy octopus, and I think he's so fun. Yeah, I really think that's what I want to come and say. And also, I feel like Cam really needs a kick in the ass, and Katie kicking him out is kind of the thing that he needs, but also it's such a fun thing to go back and reread this and see all of the foreshadowing that happens in the beginning of this book. I'm just truly always obsessed with this book, and I always find myself getting more obsessed with the book the more times I read it. But I did read something last night that I didn't get to talk to you guys about because it was late and time for bed. But I wrote at the end of the chapter, Tova, once she gets back home, she starts going through all of the stuff that was at her brother's after he passed away. And so she's been going through it, and she sees a picture of him and her son on a boat, and she kind of just like starts talking about her grief, but not really. The way that I'm trying to explain this, I'm just going to read this part. It says, "This photo hurt to look at. Tova nearly tossed it in the trash, but stopped at the last minute and buried it in the back of her kitchen drawer that held pot holders and towels, even though it didn't belong there either." So she wanted to throw this picture away because it was a picture of Lars and Eric on a boat, and Eric goes missing on a boat. So she feels that grief in the way that she did not speak to her brother after her son passed away. And what I wrote is, grief will make you angry at anybody who could have possibly been involved in this situation in any way possible. Lars taught Eric how to sail. If Lars didn't teach Eric how to sail, he wouldn't have been lost out on a boat because he wouldn't have been able to sail said boat, which in turn caused Tova to not speak to him anymore. So I just thought that that was such a beautiful way of kind of including something that we all kind of see happen, at least like in some aspect, maybe even just on film, but we watch grief hit people very differently, and that is just the way that it hit Tova. Tova refused to talk to the people that she felt like could have been involved, and it just so happened to be her brother. So I am now on page 105. On page 197, we are at day 1341 of my captivity. I really honestly forgot how wonderful the way that Marcellus talks about Tova and Cameron. And let me state again very quickly, because we're probably about the middle of this video. This is not a spoiler-free video. The way that Marcellus brings up the whole Tova and Cameron situation, so he says, much of human parlance is nonsense, but perhaps most ludicrous among the rubbish they spew is their tendency to glorify their own foolishness. By this, I mean absurd statements such as, what he doesn't know won't hurt him, or worse, ignorance is bliss. And then he also goes in to talking about how being a human and how bliss can be achieved just merely by being ignorant is it's just such a lucky thing to just be able to be ignorant about something and be in bliss. But he wraps that all around to talking about how he sees humans with their guardians and humans with their families all day long. So he sees these patterns, he sees these things that he's able to pinpoint, like, oh, that is the child of that man and that woman. You know what I mean? Humans walk alike, or in this case, unalike, far more than they realize. But the former cleaning woman and her replacement, they walk alike. We can humanize him because he has these human qualities to him, like the ability to notice these things, the ability to, I guess, understand. So I just think that it's really fun to watch Marcellus give us the information, but quietly. I don't know. I just love this book. But I am going to continue reading. I'm going to stop yapping, and yeah, I will just check in with you guys in a bit. I think I mentioned yesterday that Tova finding out that there was a girl was such a revelation for her, because it's finding out something new about someone that you have known, that you know literally everything about, and you can't learn more. You have now learned more about someone that you thought that you had known everything about. So it was just a really, really, really big revelation for her, and I feel like the way that Shelby Van Pelt put it was so beautiful, just because, like, I don't know, she has such a phenomenal way of writing just honestly the most devastating thing possible, which is honestly just grief and living in a world where you feel like you can't sit still, because if you do, you'll start thinking too much. The one place that I spent the most time crying at yesterday, and Sean giggled at me because I turned around and looked at him at one point, and clearly I don't mean this, but I went the stupid octopus. Day 1349 of my captivity. On the last page of this, as a general rule, I like holes. A hole at the top of my tank gives me freedom, but I do not like the hole in her heart. She only has one, not three like me. Tova's heart. I will do everything I can to help her fill it. I feel very connected to an octopus. Like, I don't know. I just absolutely love Marcellus so much, and I hate the countdown of all of this, like the countdown for Marcellus, because I obviously know that it has to come to an end, but I truly hate the thought of Marcellus's time coming to an end. Disregard the snacks that keep accumulating over in this corner. I am snacky. I feel like Cameron is such a selfish crybaby who needs to pull his finger out of his ass and grow up. You are 30 years old. just because you're throwing a fit because your day didn't go the way that you wanted it to, doesn't mean that you get to drop all of your responsibilities and run home. And who are you running home to? Your aunt, who's literally gonna look at you and belittle you for doing what you've just done? Your friends, who literally just had a baby and have no time for taking care of an actual 30-year-old? What the fuck does he actually think is going to happen? What does he think he's going to achieve from this entire situation? This part of the book is always so sad, just like the thought of Marcellus putting himself in such danger to try to get Tova and Cameron to open their eyes to each other. So I just had to change the angle of my camera to appease my anxiety. But the thought of Marcellus putting himself in such danger, son of a bitch. Hello. I think the last clip of me in here was of me incapable of finishing a sentence. And what I wanted to say last night was that the thought of Marcellus doing something so dangerous that puts him in such jeopardy, like to the point where we find out what actually injured him, we find out all of this stuff, and he yet still does it to help Tova and Cameron. And I find that I find that to be such a warm-hearted moment, something that feels so human and non-human. I think it makes Marcellus so human, and I find that so beautiful. But I did end up finishing Remarkably Bright Creatures last night. This sentence has always gotten me. It has always made me almost sick to my stomach, but it says, humans, for the most part, you are dull and blundering, but occasionally you can be remarkably bright creatures. And I think that stands so true because I feel like while reading this book, Marcellus feels almost more human than some of our humans. I feel like Marcellus is such a bright creature. Like, I know that's corny, but he just feels so bright and he's so wonderful. But I obviously am, once again for the third time, rating this a 5-star. I cannot wait for this movie to come out on Friday. I literally am so excited. I'm so excited, especially for my friends who don't really read. I'm so excited that they are finally getting the chance to meet Marcellus. I'm really, really, really loving all of the trailers that we're seeing of this film, so I'm just really excited to see how it really plays out and how Tova and Marcellus are portrayed on film. So I'm really excited. At the end of my edition, I do have some questions for discussion. This one I feel like is so funny. I feel like, actually, why don't you guys just leave me your answer down in the comments below. What kind of person do you think Marcellus would be if he were human? So I really want to see what your all's answer is. I think that Marcellus would be, he feels already so human that I feel like Marcellus would be the type of character that almost is the really like the person who has an old soul, who, I don't know why, I feel like Marcellus wears suspenders. I don't know why that sounds so funny coming, actually I know exactly why that sounds so funny coming out of my mouth, because it's such an odd statement to come out of someone's mouth. but I think Marcellus wears suspenders. I don't know, I think he's the type of person that wears suspenders. I think he has an old soul, and I think that he's the type of person that, like, if you needed help with something, that you could just call him and he would fix it. I love Marcellus. I hope you guys are as excited as I am for Friday, but I'm going to end this video here. I feel like it's going to be a really long one, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys get the chance to read this before you watch it on Friday, but if you don't, I'm sure they're going to do a really good job. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you leave a comment downstairs. Make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.